Alright, I'm back after a little hiatus with another phone review. I want to do a review for the Evo Shift 4G. It's the newest addition to Sprint's Evo line. And I think maybe I should start talking off about is the fact that I guess Evo now is going to actually be a brand. So kind of like how there's the Motorola Droid and Droid X and Droid Incredible and those kind of things on Verizon, Sprint is looking to, I guess, start their own line of Android devices off of the success of the Evo. So this is the newest member of the Evo family, the Shift, called the Shift obviously because the keyboard shifts out. So I think a good place to start with talking about the Shift is probably in comparison to the original HTC Evo 4G, the OG Evo. So, you know, obviously the first thing you notice a difference is the size. An obvious big difference here in the size of the phones. You know, the original Evo having the 4.3 inch display, excuse me, and the Shift with the 3.6 inch display. So obviously a much smaller device. And that's something I think that's a good thing that Sprint's doing because it kind of gives people a choice, a preference. You know, me for one, I really love the big screen on the Evo, but I know for a lot of people, the smaller phone, you know, just fits your hand better. So it's nice that they're getting that. It's still a real crisp screen. Honestly, I think it gets a little more clarity, probably because of the pixel density being a little smaller on the smaller screen there. So again, the screen size being the first difference. The other thing I guess you'd also say would be the keyboard. Obviously the Shift has a keyboard where the original Evo only has the on-screen keyboard. On the back you got the 5 megapixel camera with single flash, and then you got your speaker grill here. Again, the original Evo having the 8 megapixel camera and dual flash, and then on the front the original Evo having the front facing camera, which is missing here on the Evo Shift, and also the HDMI port and kickstand. So those are going to be features that you pick up on the Evo, the Shift not having those two features. But one of the things that is nice about the Shift, beyond just having one of the best keyboards I've seen on an Android phone, is that it also has a slightly faster processor than the original Evo. So the original Evo has the 1 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, and even though the Shift is only clocked at 800 megahertz, so it's a slower speed, but it's actually a newer and snappier processor. And honestly, playing with the phones is kind of immediately obvious that the Shift is just a hair faster than the original Evo. But you know, not anything that's gonna just blow you away or make you want to drop your Evo and go run out and get a Shift. But so it holds its own in that regard. 512 megs of RAM on both of them. A gigabyte of internal storage on both of them. The Shift comes with the 2 gig SD card instead of the 8 gig that the OG Evo comes with. Both on 2.2, Android 2.2 Froyo, and most likely both will be getting upgraded to Android 2.3 Gingerbread, hopefully in the next couple of months here. We already talked about the cameras and the keyboard and everything like that. So again, I talked a little bit about the processor differences, and one of the tests that you can actually download right from the market, there's an app, it's a quadrant test, and then what it does is it tests the speed of the actual processor and runs it through a couple of different graphical tests and things like that. So I'm gonna run that test on both of these devices, and I'll come back with the results from that, and you can take a look at the scores for both devices. Okay, and after giving the devices a chance to run this test, it comes out with the Shift slightly ahead of the Evo, and the numbers themselves aren't necessarily what's as relevant in this video. The Evo Shift, though, the first time I ran it yesterday, I actually got a 1461 to the OG Evo's 1135, and then today, just now, a 1525 to the OG Evo's 1028. So a little bit faster, but the nice thing about this application is quadrant scores. It gives you a chance to kind of compare your phones to some of the other popular phones that are out, and the Shift actually came up and above most of their phones. It's here over the Nexus 1 with 2.2, the Moto Droid X, obviously the Evo, the Samsung Galaxy, etc. on down the line, and then we have the Evo coming in right between the Samsung Galaxy S phones, so you know, the Epic and Fascinate, etc., and right underneath the Droid X and Nexus 2 and those things. So just giving you a kind of point of reference more or less where your phone is. Obviously both things that can be tweaked with different settings, and definitely if you dive into rooting your phone, playing with different kernels, you can kind of tweak those things. But out of the box, giving you an idea of where the Evo and Evo Shift kind of fall. So touching on some numbers to kind of show that speed differential. Okay, so I do want to spend some time, guys, going over the unique features of the Evo Shift. itself, I mean, again, the Shift is really a nice phone. I have the original Evo. I love it. I wouldn't say I miss a keyboard. I'm coming from the Touch Pro and the Mogul, older Windows mobile devices with keyboards. I wouldn't say I miss my keyboard, but definitely sometimes I wouldn't mind having a keyboard, and the Shift has a great keyboard. I love the way it slides out, real sturdy, real solid when it's closed. No weird squeakiness that you see on some sliders. Some were complaining that it wasn't spring assisted. Some were complaining that it didn't have the Z hinge like it's like the T-Mobile G2, which is a really close cousin, I guess, to the Evo Shift, at least internally. But I really like the slide mechanism they got on here. You know, it's really nice and solid. The keys themselves are pretty flat, well lit, I think well spaced and well sized. I mean, they're flat, but they give you a nice click, tactile feeling, feedback when you actually type on them. You have this little touchpad in the corner that I was a little skeptical about initially when I first saw the phone, but I have to say that I think it serves its purpose pretty well. You know, easy to just put your thumb there and rock it left, right, up, down, to get some navigation through different menus when you need it. I do like that they included a search button. Wouldn't have mind seeing some of the customizable keys that you saw in the G2, but again, not that big of a deal. Nice little lights that light up for your function, and shift keys here, and then double tapping does lock either of those. Again, it doesn't have the 8 megapixel, it does only have the single flash, but I think that the 5 megapixel is not that bad. I mean, I have my Hero, I love the 5 megapixel on there. Don't think that the 8 is that, you know, that big of a deal. I'm not doing any real serious photography either. For those of you who aren't that familiar with HTC and HTC phones, one of the great things is this really is, I mean, in my opinion, you know, a different version of the Evo. You do get that same nice experience. Some of those HTC plugins, some of the widgets you see here, the nice weather widget, that lets you go through weather and your alarm clock and all those kind of different things. You do get the nice little HTC Peoples widget, and so a lot of little HTC touches. I'm really a fan of HTC Sense. I think that they are one of the manufacturers who actually add something to the Android experience. So, you know, I'm a big fan of that. So if you're familiar with the Evo, you'd be very familiar with the Shift. It is fundamentally, software-wise, the exact same phone. Some of the negatives, I think I've heard a few people complain, and some other videos have talked about the fact that the volume rocker, which is located right here on the left-hand side, gets in the way when you slide the keyboard. And I will say that the first few times I did it, I did realize that. Again, this isn't my actual phone, it's my girlfriend's phone, so I'm not using it day to day, but I don't think that's something that you're going to have too much of a problem with once you start using the phone and getting used to it. I mean, you kind of adapt to those things. You know, so it's arguable it could have been placed on the other side or somewhere else, but not a deal breaker for me. People are complaining somewhat about the not having a front camera, and see, that's an issue that, you know, is going to be a big deal for you, especially if you're looking at the Evo and the Evo Shift. You know, front camera, I honestly don't use mine very often, but if that's something you see yourself using, I know this year, 2011, I think that that's something we're going to see take off. Android's supposed to be getting its own Skype soon with full video support, so that's a feature that might be more popular this year than it was last year. But if that's not, you know, a big deal for you, the Evo Shift is definitely a great option. Honestly, I feel like you can't really go wrong with either of the two. It's a great Evo experience, like I said, very great build quality, as HTC is kind of known for. One of the reasons I personally prefer HTC. And you know, it's a great keyboard with a snappy processor. So two great options for you between the Evo and the Evo Shift. I would definitely recommend people check it out if you're on one of the other slider phones or looking to upgrade your phone, coming from Windows Mobile even. I think it could be a nice, great step for you guys. Hopefully coming up soon, I might have some app review videos, but you know, this has been the Evo Shift review. Hopefully I shed a little more light on it for you, or showed it a little different perspective maybe, and then some other reviews. And thanks for checking out my video.